series, and that is Erik Boland. He covers the Yankees for Newsday, but he's a Cleveland native and a John Carroll grad. If you missed the Ultimate 216 show yesterday with Earl, by the way, make sure you go check that out. But now we welcome in Erik Boland, the Yankees beat reporter for Newsday, a Cleveland native who hopefully will get to witness some baseball tonight if the weather holds out here in good old Cleveland. What's
Erik,
up,
how are you, man? Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jay, and thanks all of you guys for having me on. As I posted on Twitter a little while ago, always great to be back in my favorite road city.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure. I remember when I would come home to Cleveland when it was for an assignment. It just felt right. I went to bed easier. I woke up in a better mood. There is something very special about home. Your beat, obviously, and it's been your beat for a long time, the New York Yankees. Is it Newsday? I want to make sure I get that right. Are you with Newsday?
Yeah, it is Newsday.
That's what I thought. When you look at this Yankees team, obviously we were talking in the last segment about the Browns and how much money they are spending and what they've actually seen as a return on that investment. The Yankees were always a team that were out in front in terms of team payroll. And here recently, the Dodgers, and there are other teams that have just caught up to them and gone past them in spending. Where are the Yankees now in sort of their spending continuum? And talk to us a little bit about expectations for this team this year, because they've got the roster. They went out and added a huge piece. I would think that this is a team that fans are expecting should go deep into the playoffs.
Well, there's a lot to unpack with what you said there, Jay, and I'll start with the money. As the Yankees, and the word drought is a very relative term. I'm not going to talk to Cleveland fans and about a World Series drought, and being from Cleveland and growing up there and rooting for all of the Cleveland teams. You would laugh at the Yankees fans and their reaction to have not won a World Series since 2009. That is, for that franchise, a drought, but then take the city that I'm in currently, and you guys know 1948, and that's a real drought for not winning a World Series. But the anger level from the fan base toward Yankees management, starting with managing general partner Hal Steinbrenner, and certainly going down to longtime general manager Brian Cashman, has increased steadily over the last decade or so, and it really culminated last year with just a top-to-bottom irate fan base, with them going 82-80. The season just turned into a complete disaster. Really, in June, when Aaron Judge suffered the toe injury at Dodger Stadium when he ran into the bullpen fence and tore a ligament in his toe. Last year, coming out of spring training, they had the highest of expectations, as they always do. But one of the criticisms that you've heard of Hal Steinbrenner, and I don't really agree with it, maybe we can get into this later, maybe not, is that he is cheap. He's not his father, who would pursue every shiny object that presented itself, whether it be on the trade market or on the free agent market. And there's Blake Snell, and I'm going to offer him $200+ million or whatever it takes to get that deal done. Hal does not operate that way. Hal wants a farm system that develops good players, both pitching wise and position player wise. They've not had a lot of success in that category. It seems like they maybe have hit on some guys recently. Anthony Volpe, their starting shortstop, probably heads that list. But look, they have, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's the third highest payroll in the game, $240 million. You've got the Dodgers and the Mets cross town, and that has not helped since Steve Cohen took over the Mets. That has not helped Hal Steinbrenner's cause, because you got a guy across town that is worth, I don't know, what is it, $16 billion or something like that, and he grew up a Mets fan, and he treats it the way that I have said this before. He's the owner that everyone who roots for a professional sports team wants owning their favorite team. And fans don't care about luxury taxes, and they don't care about staying under a certain threshold and all of that. They want somebody that would operate a team the way that they would operate it, and that's what Steve Cohen does with the Mets. I know this is a long, meandering answer, but look, the expectations are always high for the Yankees no matter what, but they were slightly lower this year based on the season that they were coming off of. But when they added Juan Soto, when they added Alex Verdugo, when they added Marcus Stroman, when they were spurned by Yamamoto, the Japanese star pitcher. He went to the Dodgers for $325 million. The Yankees offered $300 million, but he just wanted to play on the West Coast with Shohei Ohtani, basically. They didn't get a lot of attention other than the Soto deal, of course, but they were quietly confident that last year was an outlier, and that with the additions they made this offseason, that they would be pretty good and would be able to challenge the Orioles for the AL East crown. And certainly, just 13 games into the season, that's been the case. But as you guys talked about in the Guardians start, we're just an infinitesimal portion into the season. This is my 16th year covering the Yankees. I've seen all kinds of starts by this team and by other teams. Sometimes they've started off well and struggled to win 90 games, and sometimes they started off poorly and won 100. So it's so early. It's very difficult to draw any kind of grand conclusions. But I do think that this Yankees team is pretty good, and barring the injury bug, and that's always something that can crop up and just nail teams, and it did with the Yankees to a degree last year. I think they used it too much as an excuse, but that's another story for another day, maybe. But the roster is pretty good overall.
Erik, I want to go to a bigger picture. You look at it. I've been watching it, and over I think the last decade, velocity has gone up. Almost every single year in terms of pitchers. Obviously, they do have the pitch clock, and the people have talked about the unintended consequences of that. What do you make of all of the elbow injuries with pitchers? Is that something due to, just the physical limits of how fast you can throw a baseball and how quickly you're going to get up and throw another fastball that's over 100 miles an hour? What do you make of that? And we have Shane Bieber here. Is that something that you've heard whispers in the Yankees organization and other organizations as well?
Well, I mean, look, it's one of the big topics in the sport, and it has been for a number of years. But the last few years in particular, the number of arm injuries, shoulder injuries with pitchers, as you mentioned, it's just gone through the roof. And one of my issues in the game, and I've been very critical of the Yankees analytic department over the years, and I know it's a part of the game, and it needs to be a part of the game, the analytics and data science, et cetera. But one of the issues, and again, criticisms, and I can't talk about other organizations. I only cover the Yankees. I can give you a bird's eye view of opinions or people that I've talked to in other organizations about various topics, but I'll just stick with the Yankees. One of the issues that I have when it comes to keeping pitchers healthy is all of these teams, certainly the Yankees, bring in all of these gurus. And the 100 pitches in a game, and the way that they develop guys in the minor leagues, et cetera. And the reality is everyone's looking for the secret sauce on how to keep pitchers healthy, and nobody knows how the hell to do it. And I would like to see some of these pitching gurus and these medical data science gurus, et cetera, actually come out and say, you know what, a lot of this stuff that we're doing is arbitrary. When did 100 pitches become, some kind of a constitutional amendment, if you will, that's the way to keep guys healthy? And there certainly is common sense to a degree. You don't want, an 18-year-old kid that you just drafted his first year of rookie ball coming out and throwing 150 pitches in a game. That's not my point. But I really think that there needs to be some kind of a come to Jesus moment in the sport where all of these geniuses, and a lot of them are self-appointed geniuses, that they really don't know what the hell to do to keep guys healthy, and at least acknowledge that and say that you know what, we've tried this and this over the last 10 years, and the number of injuries in the game when it comes to pitchers have only increased in that time. And you saw Justin Verlander talk about it the other day. Garrett Cole from the Yankees, who had, up until this spring had never had really a serious arm injury. He's about a month and a half away from returning if he doesn't have any setbacks. But it's a huge concern in the sport, and I would just like to see people in the sport acknowledge a lot of what they don't know, because they speak so arrogantly about well, these players are our treasure, and it's so important to keep them healthy, etc. And then again, they apply all of these arbitrary benchmarks to the development of these guys, and most of the time, these gurus have no background whatsoever when it comes to being between the lines. And this isn't one of those things where I think that you have to have played the game at a certain level to know anything about it. But I would like to see more of an input from guys that have played the game, and how did they manage to stay healthy for the preponderance of their career, and what did they do 20, 30 years ago, or even beyond that, to easily log 200 innings and make 30 plus starts during the course of a year. And they didn't have a lot of these restrictions that, again, have arbitrarily been put in over the years by people that, again, I question their qualifications to implement a lot of the things that they have implemented. I mean, you could write a book on this, and we could probably do an entire, hour plus on this issue, but your question is a great one, and I know from the Yankee standpoint, and certainly talking to people in other organizations, scouts, executives, people on the field, whether it's players or coaches, it really is the number one thing in the sport, and in spring training, it's the number one topic always is, I don't care about the results of my guys. I just want to get them healthy out after the 6 weeks. And, again, the injury rate has never been higher.
Yeah, it's really amazing when you consider the amount of money that is at stake with all these pitchers and the rate of injury, that someone hasn't done a serious deep dive into things like spin rate, which has become a huge buzzword over the last decade, and guys are doing all they can to increase their spin rate. Okay, well, while the spin rate has gone up, has the rate of injury gone up? Is there a correlation? I talk to old timers all the time that pitched, and I call them old timers, in the 90s and the 2000s. Hell, I'm doing a piece coming up about the 94 Indians, because it's basically 30 years since the resurgence of baseball here in Cleveland. And they ended up not making the playoffs that year because there was a strike. But at the time the season was canceled because of the strike, I think there were 113 games in. The Indians led all of baseball with 17 complete games. And the season was 2/3 of the way through. They were on pace to go, 22, 23 complete games. I don't know that you'll have that many total complete games in baseball combined in a season anymore, because they're treated with such kid gloves. Erik, we only have a minute, and I want to ask this to you as we say goodbye. And it's not really Yankees or Guardians related, but it's baseball related. Trevor Bauer is a guy who's out there and available, and the Guardians lose Shane Bieber for the year. Obviously, he's got a past with the Indians when he pitched here as a member of the Indians, and he had a real issue. I think Tito just was done with him. Is he going to be signed by anybody this year? Because as you know, from a legal standpoint, he hasn't been charged with anything. There are probably things that are still hanging over his head, but is he blackballed? What's going to happen?
I mean, I don't know if blackballed is the right word. He certainly, and if he is blackballed, he's done it to himself, certainly. But look, you guys have all covered sports long enough to know that, if a team concludes, and it's not just baseball, it's any sport, concludes that a guy can help them on the court, between the lines, etc., they'll find a way to get him in. But teams would have to weigh the risk-reward element of it, and is the PR hit that you're going to take worth what the potential reward is? And he has not pitched in the big leagues, and I don't know, what is it, 4 or 5 years. He's well north of 30 at this point. Obviously was mostly successful when he was on the field, but do I think he'll get signed eventually? I don't think. I never place much stock in any professional sports team having much in the way of scruples or morals. So if you put a gun to my head and made me predict, would he get signed at some point? My answer to that would be yes. I could tell you it won't be the Yankees. And I definitely don't think it will be the Guardians either. But some team is going to be pitching desperate, and I think we'll take a flyer on him.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Erik, it's great to see you again. Enjoy the Guardians and Yankees series while you're in town. And best of luck to you and your team the rest of the way, unless they run into our Guardians in the playoffs.
Well, I certainly I've covered my share of Yankees, Guardians, or Indians before that. Playoff series in my time covering the Yankees, and would love to do another one in October.
All right, Erik, thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Erik Boland writes for Newsday. He's covered the Yankees for a very long time, entrenched in that city as a terrific baseball writer. He's obviously very knowledgeable about the Yankees, and we appreciate his time here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. All right.